so you guessed it, today we are going to be installing this bad boy. Okay, so the things you'll need are, obviously, the BR unit itself, a soldering iron, flux and solder, some assorted wire. If you can get coloured, that's better because you can actually colour code it to the unit. Some loom tube or some kind of sheathing like this. This is optional. It's mainly if you're going to make a loom like I'm going to. Some 600 or 1000 volt 1 amp diodes. I'll get to this later on. A 12 pin plug and socket set. This again is optional. I'll be using it to quickly be able to disconnect the BR from the actual ECU loom itself. And of course pliers, crimpers, screwdrivers and anything else you'll need to actually get to your ECU. Alright, so I'm just starting to make my loom now, but before I go too far I'm going to take some time and explain the actual wiring of the BR and where the corresponding wires go to the ECU. Okay, so quick rundown. The yellow wire is the RPM trace, white wire is the two-step second rev limit, which is activated by grounding. The red wire is 12 volt switched, the black wire is ground, and the green wire is the ignition signal. So this is the important part. Because the BR doesn't actually like the Subaru's crank angle sensor, you've got to actually split the ignition wire for the BR into either 2 or 4. It varies on which Subaru. For my EJ207 version 6, it's only 2. So you split that wire and put a diode in each, with the grey stripe on the diode facing the BR. Alright, so now that we've established all the ground rules, we can actually get wiring. So here we go. Alright, so I just twist these together, dip it in the flux and solder the two wires together. So this is now ready to receive the pin for the plug, which I'll just put on right now. So in this application, because the wire is so small a gauge, I'm actually going to solder this wire to the pin of the plug. So I'm going to put some flux in here and solder it in so it cannot come loose. So there you have it, that's one wire done. So I'll skip all the rest because I'm sure you don't want to see that shit over and over again.
Pro tip.
Do you want to avoid getting to the end of the job and realizing that you fucked up? Well, here's one to avoid that. No, but in all seriousness, I've done this before and I'm sure a lot of you out there probably have as well. And I know that it absolutely shits me. You get to the end of your plug install or your plug creation, whatever you want to call it, and you realise that you put a male part where a female part should be, or vice versa. So my tip, actually it's nothing special really, it's just pay attention and use your brain. Alright, so it's now time to actually wire the BR unit up to the ECU itself. So first step, for those of you who don't already know, in your Subaru, your ECU is actually located in your passenger or left hand side of the vehicle footwell, so behind this metal plate here. And I've obviously already undone the bolts, be a bit concerned if that was already loose. And here is your ECU. As you can see, I've got an Apexi Power FC, but that is a complete standalone which uses the same stock wires and clips. Also, another thing you'll need to do is actually, as you'll see on the BR unit itself, it's got 3 different wire loops. So because this is for a 4-cylinder, you cut the grey one. So make sure you do that, otherwise it will not work. Oh, and one more thing, make sure you disconnect your battery. It's easy for me with my isolation switch, so let's get going. Okay, so I tried to record the whole process of wiring this thing up, but it just got too crammed and the footage just came out like total crap. So I'll just put a wiring diagram up on the screen and I'll try to explain it as best as I can. So sorry for anyone that was trying to actually see some wiring in action, but it just didn't happen. So on the screen now I've got the complete ECU pinout for the 99 SF Forester, and it's also pretty much identical to the 2000 version 6 STI. And of course I will put a link in the description so you guys can actually save these to your computer or your phone or whatever so you can use them later on. But because I'm a nice guy, I'm actually going to come through and highlight the pins you need so it's nice and easy for you. Okay, first up, in no particular order, on the grey plug, B135, pin number 14, that is going to be your RPM signal. So next up we'll do the ignition signal. So the black plug, B134, pins 7 and 16, they are the two signals for your 4 ignition wires. And the last pin on the actual ECU loom itself is the actual power. So this is on the blue B136 plug, pin number 8 or 9 you can pull power from. I think I pulled it from pin number 9. And make sure when you're actually splicing into these cables that you're A, soldering, B, heat shrinking, and C, securing the cable after you do it. So lastly, you've just got to ground the BR unit itself. So as you can see at the top of this photo, I've actually grounded this to the chassis independently of the ECU. Reason being is sometimes grounding to the ECU or the same source can actually cause weird interference issues. So all that's left to do now is just mount your unit, and if you want you can hook up your actual 2-step switch. You can see in this photo this is how I did it on my handbrake. It's a bit different. Normally people just wire them up to either their clutch switch or their handbrake switch, but I wanted to be able to turn it on whenever I wanted, so that's why I did it.